This is Inside the Right. Tim, we are, of course, in the aftermath of this election. We spent a lot of time in the lead up to this election trying to figure out the best way to reach out to a lot of different groups, but the one that I was especially focused on with you was reaching out to these pro-democracy Republicans, these independents, these squishy conservatives. I want to know, in the aftermath of what we've seen just this past Tuesday, how did that group fare relative? I know everybody basically swung right in this country. How did that group in particular fare relative to the rest of the population?
Look, I think that the reality is, as we talked about a bunch, like this is a small group within the party that was trying to nudge, we're trying to nudge towards the Democrats. It was not like there was this big hope of an influx of anti-Trump Republicans, or else they would have won the primary. And for as many Nikki Haley voters there were, and there's some surprising results about her up in the teens, that's still just the teens within the Republicans. So if you look at the data, it's early, right? But it seems like the number of anti-Trump Republicans maybe ticked up the tiniest amount, or was about even between 2020 to 2024. That was obviously not what we'd hoped for, but in the context of what we saw in a lot of other demographic groups, which was moving strongly or significantly, I guess more appropriately, towards Trump. Maybe it did slightly better than some of the other groups out there. But I mean, like, the problem was the movement towards Trump overall across the board, right? I mean, the theory of the case, let's just put it this way, the theory of the case, right, was maybe there would be some bleed among Black and brown men in particular. Maybe Trump could juice out a little bit more in rural America, but that could be offset by greater turnout among women and by greater turnout among the anti-Trump Republicans, right? And what happened was maybe you picked up some small amount of the anti-Trump Republicans that were radicalized by January 6th, but it was dwarfed by the bleed among those other groups.
So how does this impact your strategy with your colleagues over at the Bulwark? I mean, you had been focused primarily on these anti-Trump Republicans. Is that still your group's focus, or is there some broader focus now?
Yeah.
I mean, how do you guys operate moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, look, the Bulwark was never really in the business of being like, the Republican Party is fixable, And the
Yeah.
Bulwark was always in the business of, we're clear-eyed about what's happening in the Republican Party, and we're trying to nudge people that understand it like us to to do something different, like to support Democrats, or to, look to independent candidates like Dan Osborne in Nebraska, right? And so in that sense, like, what happened, while is obviously extremely negative for the country in our view, kind of affirms our like worldview of what has happened within the Republican Party. Like, if you are somebody out there that does not like Trump, that believes in America having a role in the world, that believes in individual freedom, like, this is not a party for you anymore. And so I think that we're still going to be a gathering space for that group, which is still a really significant group of people. And this is always one of the things, that elections are a zero-sum game, right? Like, somebody wins, somebody loses. Like, there's still millions of people out there that share this view, that have that are small L kind of liberals, traditional liberals, that believe in freedom and free markets and the American experiment, but that don't like Donald Trump. And so we're still going to be a voice for that group. Hopefully, you can continue to recruit more of those people to the cause. I think that we are probably hurt by the fact that there was a lot of nostalgia for 2019 Trump, and that I think that, unfortunately, what I expect is, while we may not have been Cassandras about the result of this election, I think that we're going to be Cassandras about the results of the Trump administration. When people see what is happening from the Trump administration, there's going to be some out there that like that want the authoritarianism, that want the right-wing populism, but there are going to be others that voted for Donald Trump that wish they didn't, right? And so that is hard work. It is not it's not the work we are hoping for, but I just think that's the reality of where we're going to be.
I completely agree. I think that a lot of people who voted for him either didn't remember the chaos that we were, engrossed in when he was president, fell victim to the revisionist history that's being sold by right-wing media and Fox News, or maybe were even too young to remember Trump's presidency. I mean, somebody that's 18 was like, what, 10 years old when he was president last time?
Right.
Somebody who's like graduating college was like 12.
Right.
And so of course they don't remember what it was like when Trump was president. Nobody's paying attention to politics at that age. But one thing that's certain is the same way that I think we can't avoid chaos with him. And I think that the constant drumbeat of chaos that we will inevitably be consumed by is going to weigh on people in the same way. And I know it sucks that we are in this perpetual doom loop now where we have to elect Trump, wait for the chaos comes, people rebel against him, there's a backlash against him in midterm elections, at least I hope that's what's going to happen. But that is the cycle that we're in right now. And unfortunately, we're in a media environment where, a lot of people who were able to drive the conversation online is a younger demo who doesn't have the benefit of hindsight when it comes to what Trump's first term looked like.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that's right. And I just think, look, you look at the other side. And Donald Trump was in the depths of a hole after January 6th when he announced his presidential campaign. Nobody showed up to the announcement. I mean, I think that, look, I have. I don't know if I've ever said a single positive thing about Donald Trump on Inside the Right. Maybe one, maybe once. But like, there's something to be said for the person's resilience and the resilience of the people around him. Like, he's a con man, but there are people around him that have a worldview. There are people in his media ecosystem that have a worldview. And after that loss in 2020, and after how low it looked in late 2022, after the red wave didn't build, they weren't like, well, okay, I guess our movement is dead. We're gonna
Yeah.
stop talking about this now. We're gonna start you know what I mean? Like, we have at the Bulwark, like, we have a point of view. Like, we know what we think the world should look like. We're gonna continue to advocate for it. Things change quicker than people expect. Like, we've been through an insane epoch in our politics
Yeah.
over the past 10 or 15 years. And so, like, to me, I think it's disappointing, of course, but like to your point, like there are a lot of people out there that are not political obsessives that did not hear the message clearly, and the job is to figure out how to help them hear it.
Okay, so then to that point, how do you view your responsibility moving forward? We clearly have a young men problem in the Democratic Party. You're a young guy. Like, do you feel some particular responsibility now in terms of being able to communicate with people demographically more similar to you and not like leaving it up to like the Joe Bidens of the world, septuagenarians and octogenarians in the Democratic Party to do it, or, TV anchors who feel like, Upper West Side New York Democrats, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I do feel that obligation. I don't know. Look, I'm open to what is the right path. I don't want to prejudge what is the best path to help contain Donald Trump and to help change the trajectory of our country. But I know we need a different path than what has happened before. I think when you think about the younger men, you think about working class men, think about more kind of economic populism. Like, I'm open to that. Like, that's not. I think everybody in the anti-Trump coalition needs to be open to the fact that, like, if you liked everything that happened the last 6 years, the Democratic Party was doing, then great, the Democratic Party was serving you, but it wasn't serving enough people, but darn enough of yous, right? And so to expand that out, that's going to mean going maybe into some places where people have views I don't like, and those views might be more socially conservative than me as like a moderate former Republican, but kind of talking to them about cultural war issues and having a honest conversation with them. I want to go do that on some of these podcasts with younger men that help promote and push Trump. And on the other side, like, look, the Bulwark people, we're going to be more free market. But if like the right answer for reaching working class people is kind of a more populist economic message, I'm open to listening to that. Not all those policies are going to be my cup of tea exactly, but maybe that is the path. Something needs to be done differently. And for me, I just think that it's worth having that conversation, having a wide range of conversations, and trying to figure out a path forward that connects with more people.
Do you think that it's a matter of adopting new policy or just messaging it more effectively? When you look at the Democratic Party of today, I mean, we have, this was the first time the government negotiated lower drug prices. We have medical costs capped at $2,000. We have the cost of inhalers and insulin at $35. We have immediate refunds for airline cancellations, the elimination of junk fees at banks. So if you're talking economic populism, I mean, the Democrats have delivered in a lot of sense here. It's just that that's not the message that people got. Like if you go if you go out on the campaign trail in real America and you say, what have the Democrats done to help people like me? How many people are going to be able to say that they've eliminated junk fees at banks versus how many people are going to say, well, Democrats stand for gender reassignment surgeries in prisons, right?
Yeah.
Like, so is it a question of the policy or just the messaging of that policy?
I think that's an open question, is my honest answer. I think that's an open question. I think the thing that I know for sure is that the Democrats need to be better at communicating with people outside of the upper middle class bubble,
Yeah.
college educated bubble, right? And so maybe you're right. Maybe like a Democrat who's like, look, go back to Bill Clinton. You can go back to like a Democrat who's a strong communicator who can authentically demonstrate that they care about working people and is pushing an agenda that's similar to Biden's. Might that work better? Sure. Might it be that Donald Trump's horrific tariff policies cause such economic pain that there'll be a backlash against Trump and Democrats don't need to change their policies really, but people see the reality of Donald Trump's horrible policies? Maybe, and or does there need to be a substantive push to kind of distance the Democratic brand from where they've been on a range of issues? Maybe, right? Like I'm open to all of those things. I think for sure the communications piece needs to get figured out, and
Yeah.
speaking authentically and going into places where they haven't gone, like that is a no-brainer and something that I want to do, and I think Democratic politicians need to do. The rest of it, I think it would be smart to just kind of be open to a couple of various paths.
Well, look, I know that obviously the results weren't what we were hoping for, but I still believe in this mission of you guys reaching out to an audience that might not be more as inclined to listen to somebody like me. I think that it's important to get people who, to your exact point, are authentic messengers for their own respective audiences. So I believe in the mission that you guys are doing over at the Bulwark, and still looking forward to working together as we kind of descend into the hellscape that the next couple of years at least holds for us. But with that said, still support you guys. And for those watching right now, if you want to support the folks at the Bulwark, I'll put the link to subscribe to their YouTube channel right here on this screen. I'm Brian Tyler Cohen.
I'm Tim Miller.
This is Inside the Right.